This letter killed the Roman Empire. Not immediately, not obviously, but slowly, inevitably. It took just 237 words to undo 2 centuries of peace. One father, one son, one perfectly crafted lie. And by the time anyone realized what had happened, it was far too late. Summer, 180 CE, the Danube frontier. Marcus Aurelius hasn't slept in 3 days. Fever. The plague had torn through his legions for months. Now it was his turn. For 19 years he'd been the empire's conscience, philosopher, warrior, the last of the good emperors. Under him, Rome had reached heights it would never see again. But there was a problem. His son. For 96 years, Rome had followed a sacred tradition. The emperor didn't pass power to his son. He chose the best man, trained him, adopted him, made him worthy. It was the closest Rome ever came to a meritocracy at the top. You earned the purple. You didn't inherit it. 5 emperors, 5 brilliant choices, nearly a century of competent rule, no civil wars, no assassinations, just governance. Until Marcus Aurelius broke the chain. Commodus Aurelius Antoninus, born to purple, raised in palaces, everything his father wasn't. Marcus wrote the Meditations, one of history's great philosophical texts. Commodus? He collected the heads of the people he killed. The signs were there, early. His cruelty to servants, his obsession with blood sports, the way he looked at people, like they were already dead. Marcus saw it all and loved him anyway. That was his tragedy. He was a Stoic philosopher who believed in reason, duty, the greater good. But he was also a father. And sometimes, being a father won. It shouldn't have. At the time, he had no idea this weakness would cost millions their lives. There was another option. Tiberius Claudius Pompeianus, Marcus's son-in-law, married to his daughter Lucilla. Battle-tested, respected, wise, everything an emperor should be. The Senate expected it. The legions would have accepted it. Marcus had spent months with Pompeianus on campaign. He was grooming him. Everyone could see it. Everyone except Commodus. And then a letter arrived. From Rome, 11 days, straight. He'd ridden the imperial post like the gods themselves were chasing him. The seal told you everything. Only the Praetorian Prefect could use it. Quintus Aemilius Laetus, commander of the Praetorian Guard, the emperor's bodyguard. 10,000 of the deadliest soldiers in the world answered to him. And he was about to execute the perfect crime. The letter took him 6 days to write. Every word mattered, every phrase a hook. Laetus was brilliant. He understood Marcus Aurelius wasn't just an emperor, he was a Stoic emperor. He believed in reason, in doing what was right, even when it hurt. So Laetus didn't appeal to Marcus's ambition or pride. He appealed to his fear, his love, the one thing that could override his judgment. He told Marcus his son was going to die. Most august emperor, I write with a heavy heart and urgent news that cannot wait. The Senate grows restless. There are whispers, concerns about the succession, about your son. Laetus was clever. He mixed truth with fiction. Commodus had made enemies. He was reckless. Marcus knew it. But I fear it has gone beyond mere disapproval. I have learned of a conspiracy. 3 senators, I dare not name them in writing, plot to have Commodus removed, permanently. They speak of saving Rome from another Nero. They invoke the sacred tradition of adoption. They mention General Pompeianus with unusual frequency. None of it was real. The Senate was worried, yes, but there was no plot, no conspiracy. Pompeianus had no idea he was even being discussed, but Laetus knew Marcus would believe it, because it was plausible, and because it turned the question from, "What's best for Rome?" into, "How do I protect my son?" Laetus had been planning this for years. He'd watched Commodus grow up, watched him become exactly what Laetus needed. Laetus understood something crucial. A weak emperor wasn't a bug. It was a feature. Under Marcus, the Praetorian Guard was disciplined, controlled, loyal to Rome. Under Commodus, they could be loyal to whoever paid them. Laetus saw an opportunity, an emperor who cared more about personal glory than governance, who could be manipulated with flattery and distraction. That's not a problem for an ambitious Praetorian prefect. That's a golden ticket. But first he had to make sure Commodus actually became emperor. And Marcus was wavering. So Laetus wrote his masterpiece. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He called his inner circle, showed them the letter. This is the thing about deception at the highest levels. It doesn't just fool one person. It creates a cascade. Marcus believed Laetus, so his advisors believed Laetus. The lie multiplied. Within hours, Marcus had made his decision. To the Senate, Commodus is my heir. To the legions, Commodus is your emperor. To the provinces, Commodus will rule. Pompeianus took it well. He was a soldier. Commodus took it better. And in Rome, Laetus poured himself wine. The game was over. 30 years later, dying of cancer, Laetus told the truth. You mean there was no plot? 3 senators were concerned, that's all, talking, not plotting. No conspiracy, no assassination plan. The priest wrote it down in a private journal that wouldn't be discovered for another 300 years. By then it was just a footnote. The damage had been done. Marcus Aurelius died on March 17, 180 CE. His last words were supposedly about duty, about Rome. Commodus wasn't listening. The transition was smooth, seamless. Laetus had made sure of that. For the first 6 months, people were hopeful. Commodus seemed to be trying, attending meetings, listening to advisors. But it didn't last. He started fighting in the arena. Romans loved gladiatorial combat, but the emperor fighting? That was obscene. It was like, imagine the President of the United States deciding to become a professional wrestler. Not as a joke. Seriously. He killed thousands of animals, hundreds of people, and he loved every second. Executing a senator for looking at him wrong, renaming Rome Colonia Commodiana, city of Commodus. Declaring himself the reincarnation of Hercules, statues of himself everywhere, gold coins with his face as a god, the megalomania grew. Even Laetus couldn't control him anymore. Laetus thought he'd created the perfect puppet. But Commodus wasn't a puppet. He was a monster, and eventually, monsters bite. By 192, Rome was bleeding. The treasury was empty. Commodus had spent it on games and bribes. The frontiers were collapsing. The legions were leaderless, and Commodus was planning to fight as a gladiator on New Year's Day. This time, there actually was a plot. Marcia, Narcissus, and Laetus. They poisoned him, but he vomited it up, so they sent in Narcissus. Commodus died in his bath, strangled. No dignity, no honor, just the end. And Laetus looked at what he'd created and wondered, was it worth it? Rome would never fully recover. The 3rd century? Constant civil war. The 4th? Division? East and West. The 5th? Fall. Obviously it wasn't just Commodus, but he broke something. The trust that the empire would be governed competently. that succession would be orderly, that Rome's best interests came first. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the universe is change, life is opinion. He never knew his opinion had been changed by a lie. One letter, 237 words, a dying man's love for his son, and a manipulator who understood that sometimes the truth doesn't matter. Only the story you tell. Rome fell because of many things, but it started with a father who loved his son too much. The best plan is to profit by the folly of others. Pliny the Elder, and trusted the wrong man. The original Epistula Fatalis has never been found. Some lies are too valuable to preserve.